So, Dad, why did you become a death investigator?
Well, Paul, when I was a police officer, I got into a shooting and I wound up, I chased somebody in the middle of the night from a traffic stop. One thing led to another, and I thought he had a gun and he tried to kill me. And so basically, we wound up wrestling on the ground for my gun. I shot him, and he took my gun and tried to shoot me. And during that time, there was a time when I actually gave up. But then I got to thinking about, well, what would happen to me? Not spiritually, but where would my physical body go to if he's successful in shooting me? And so because of that, after I went through that whole ordeal and he was captured and he went to prison and I healed, I got to thinking where I would go. And so I went down to the medical examiner's office here in Phoenix and asked if I could volunteer. I just wanted to see where I'd wind up. So one thing led to another, and I became fascinated with death investigation, and that's how I got into the field.
So, what was it like being a medical examiner, death investigator?
I tell you, it was very, very. It made you think about life and how short life is, and how much that you need to appreciate life. It's very precious, and to enjoy the moments that you have with your family, with your kids, your wife. It was something different every day. There were times it was very, very sad. I was the one that would show up, and I would go to a scene, and I would look at the body, whether it's a car accident, whether it's somebody that was killed, whether it's somebody that died violently, and I would be the one to look at them and try to figure out what happened to them, but then, also figure out who they are, who they were. But then also, I was the one that would go to your house in the middle of the night and knock on the door and tell the people who were left, the wife, children, adult children, parents, whatever, that their loved one died. So it was an honor because I always looked at it as writing. Like right now, you and I and anybody listening to this, we are writing our life story. That's what we do. Everything we do is basically a story. And so it was up to me, I felt, to write that last chapter of somebody's life, to tell the story, what happened to them, how it happened to them, and made sure that I did it with compassion, made sure that I treated them like a person, made sure it was factual so that everybody knew what happened and why.
What did you like most about your job?
I guess the thing I liked most about it, if that's the right term, to like something about it, was that I was the one that was going to go do that death notification, and I was going to do it like I would want it to be done. I thought that it was extremely interesting. I knew I was good at it, and I knew that it was something that they would always remember, because there were many times after I notified people, sometimes they'd get angry, sometimes they'd be sad, but almost always at the end, they would actually thank me. That's how I knew I did it right, and I did it with respect, and I did it to help them get through the hardest thing that they're ever going to hear. I mean, if you think about it, that's the hardest thing anybody's ever going to have to tell you. That's the hardest thing you're ever going to have to listen to, and you have to figure out how to go about growing and moving forward from that point. And I felt that I did that very well and was able to help people.
So, what case were you most scared about?
Well, I don't know if it was scared, but as you know, it was very difficult at times for me to let you and your brother kind of live, kind of be boys, be young men now, because I was always worried about what would happen to you. I mean, you know how crazy I get about things like that, about biking without a helmet, about, all kinds of things. But the one thing that sticks in my head was I had a 10-year-old boy who was fully dressed in his helmet and his riding gear. He had been riding since he was 5, and he was out riding in the desert with his dad. It was something that they liked to do, and he was on a little motorcycle, and he was actually just about a professional, if you can be a professional at 10. and he came up over a blind dune and head-on into into a Jeep that was also there. And so he died at the scene. And, I remember thinking, I have young boys who are going to want to grow up and do that. And it was very concerning for me. I could look at the dad and see that the dad was, like I would be. I mean, just completely just devastated and missing his son, who he loved very, very much and was only trying to spend time with. So I think that's the case that always sticks with me and makes me really realize how precious you and your brother and and your and your mom and everybody is, because it can end in the blink of an eye. And so we have to enjoy the time we have together.
Well, thank you very much for letting me interview you.
It was my pleasure, Paul. Thank you.